The monitor flatlined at the same moment her body went still. For a brief, terrifying second, the hospital room felt like it stopped breathing with her. The overhead lights hummed, nurses froze mid-step, and in the middle of the chilling silence stood Ethan Malik, single father, overworked nurse, and the man suddenly responsible for fighting a battle he didn't expect to win that morning. His hands trembled for half a heartbeat but then steadied, as if some unseen force pushed strength back into him. The woman on the bed was slipping away, her skin pale, her chest unmoving beneath her white blouse. Ethan didn't know her name, her story, or her wealth. He only knew one thing: he had to bring her back. If you believe in kindness, humanity, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps stories like this reach more hearts. Ethan began compressions with calm intensity, counting in his head the way experience had taught him. The woman's elegant appearance, her clean white blouse, even her subtle perfume contrasted sharply with the chaotic scene. Nurses rushed around him, one bringing in the defibrillator, another adjusting the monitors. But Ethan's world narrowed to his hands and her silent chest. He pressed again and again, sweat forming on his brow. For a moment, if anyone looked closely, they would see the exhaustion buried behind his determination, years of double shifts, loneliness, unpaid bills, and the weight of raising his 6-year-old daughter, Aisha, all alone. But none of that mattered right now. Saving a life always came first. The woman had been brought in unconscious after collapsing near a downtown cafe. No ID, no phone, nothing. She looked like someone important, well-dressed, refined, the sort of person who didn't just stroll anywhere without purpose. But Ethan treated every patient the same, whether rich or poor. That was the kind of man he was, the kind of father his daughter believed him to be. A shock was delivered to her chest. Her body jolted, then fell still again. Ethan didn't stop. He continued CPR with fierce calmness, whispering under his breath, not prayers, just please. Please for one more chance, one more breath, one more heartbeat. The room felt thick with tension, nurses exchanging fearful glances, but they all followed Ethan's lead. And then, it happened. A faint blip on the monitor. Then another. Her chest rose ever so slightly. A nurse gasped, covering her mouth. Another stared in disbelief. The heartbeat returned. Slow, but steady. Ethan finally allowed himself to exhale, though he didn't smile. Experience had taught him not to celebrate too soon, but deep down, a small spark of relief lit his tired eyes. They stabilized her, hooked her to IVs, set her monitors, and soon moved her to a quieter recovery room. As the chaos faded, Ethan stood beside her silently, observing her peaceful face. He didn't know why, but something about her felt different. Perhaps it was the way she had fought to come back. Perhaps it was something in her expression, calm, wise, almost like she had lived lifetimes of burden. Her file still read, unknown female. Estimated age early 30s. Condition, cardiac arrest, revived. No ID. No background. No relatives. Ethan wondered who she was. But then his shift ended, and responsibility called him home. The evening at Ethan's tiny apartment was the same blend of warmth and struggle it always was. Aisha ran to him the second he opened the door, hugging his waist tightly, babbling about her school drawing of a cat. Ethan, still in his scrubs, picked her up and spun her gently, letting her bright laugh fill the small space. Their home was clean but modest, second-hand furniture, flickering lights, cracked tiles. But Aisha's laughter made it feel like a palace. He heated leftovers for dinner, helped her with homework, and tucked her into bed. She traced her finger up his cheek and whispered, "You're the best daddy in the world." He kissed her forehead and whispered back, "I'm just trying, princess." After she slept, he sat at the table with overdue bills spread out like a dark ocean rising around him. Hospital pay was barely enough. But he never complained. Life had taken a lot from him already, his wife, who died during childbirth, his savings, his dreams, but it also gave him Aisha, his reason to keep going. Still, he couldn't help thinking about the woman he saved. Why was she alone? Why was she dressed like someone important? What life did she return to? He didn't know their destinies were already quietly weaving together. The next morning, Ethan returned to work tired but focused. As he entered the recovery wing, he saw something unexpected. The woman, awake, sitting up, her hair gently brushed back, was looking at him with soft, searching eyes. The monitors beside her beeped steadily. Her breathing seemed calm, almost graceful. She looked fragile yet composed, as if even near death, she remained dignified. Ethan walked in quietly, checking her chart. She whispered, "You're the one who saved me." Her voice was gentle, educated, almost melodic. Ethan nodded politely and replied that he had only done his job, nothing more. But she kept watching him with a strange mixture of gratitude and curiosity, as though she was trying to understand the men who pulled her back from the edge. She introduced herself as Lara. No last name. No details. Ethan didn't press, patience had privacy. But she wasn't just grateful. She was fascinated. She asked about his day, his work, and even about Aisha after seeing her photo clipped on his ID card. Ethan answered briefly, not wanting to burden a recovering patient with his hardships. But Lara felt something tug inside her, a sense of connection, an unspoken pull. For the next few days, she recovered under Ethan's care. She watched him work tirelessly, helping every patient with the same kindness he had shown her. She watched how gently he handled elderly patients, how patiently he calmed scared children, how respectfully he spoke to everyone. He didn't know she watched all of this. He didn't know she was quietly studying him, his sincerity, his integrity, his exhaustion, his resilience. He didn't know her eyes often filled with emotion when she saw how he cared for people despite carrying so much weight in his own life. What he absolutely didn't know was who she really was. On the morning of her discharge, Lara stood near the window of her room, sunlight reflecting off her elegant features. She wore the same white blouse she had been brought in with, now clean and pressed by the nurses. Ethan entered for a final checkup, but something felt different. She wasn't just a patient leaving. She was a woman making a decision. She stepped toward him and thanked him again, her voice trembling slightly. Ethan nodded, trying to maintain a professional tone, though he felt something shift in the air. She asked about Aisha again, how old she was, what she liked, whether she had everything she needed. Ethan smiled softly, saying his daughter was his world. Lara swallowed hard, gripping the edge of the bed. Something emotional flickered in her gaze, something Ethan didn't understand. She opened her mouth to tell him something, her real name, her truth, but then stopped. She wasn't ready yet. But she would be soon. She left the hospital quietly that day, but not from Ethan's life. 2 days later, Ethan returned to work to find murmurs and whispers echoing through the staff room. The hospital director was pacing, reading from a letter with a stunned expression. The nurses talked in disbelief. A donation had been made to the hospital. Not a small one. A massive one. Enough to build a new children's wing. Enough to buy new equipment. Enough to give staff raises. Attached to the donation was a handwritten note. For the men who saved my life. For the daughter who deserves the world. For every life this hospital touches. LM. No one knew who LM was. But Ethan felt something stir inside him. Could it be? Before he could make sense of it, a colleague walked up with another item, an envelope with his name on it. He opened it slowly. Inside was a letter and a small key. The letter read, "Ethan. You saved my life. Now let me help you live yours. Use this key. Trust it. You and Aisha deserve more than struggle. L." Confused, Ethan used his brake to follow the address written at the bottom of the page. He took a bus across town, his heart pounding, wondering if this was some mistake or cruel prank. It wasn't. The address led him to a quiet residential street, lined with trees and sunlight. He stopped in front of a charming 2-bedroom apartment with a children's play area nearby. The key fit perfectly. Inside, the apartment was fully furnished, warm, beautiful, and filled with small touches that showed someone had thought deeply about Aisha. A pink bed. Boxes of crayons. A bookshelf. A small wooden table for drawing. Everything was gentle, soft, and homelike, as if waiting for them. Ethan's breath caught. Tears filled his eyes but didn't fall. He didn't know how to accept something like this. He didn't know whether he should. Then he turned, and froze. Lara was standing at the doorway. dressed not in a simple blouse but in clothes that radiated elegance and wealth. A luxury